Welcome to Creating a World of Women of Significance on Global Voice Radio with your host, Margie O'Kane. Listen and learn how you can create a legacy for women and girls around the world. Women of significance can change the world. Here is your host, Margie O'Kane. Hello, everyone. This is Denise Joy Thompson, and I am the creator and founder of Global Voice Radio. And my team and I are so excited that Margie O'Kane from Australia, and I'll allow her to tell you a little bit more about where she lives, that she has joined us as a host with Global Voice Radio. So I'm so glad that you're able to be with me today as we talk about your journey, as we talk about what you have learned in regards to your life, and that we're going to talk about your show today.
Thank you. Sounds wonderful.
So to start off for our listeners, let's talk a little bit about your journey and what you have gained, what you have learned over the course of your life that has brought you to where you are today.
Okay, Denise, thank you very much. Where do I actually start? I'm a lady of wise years, so I have an epistle actually about my life. In a nutshell, I started nursing for 5 years. I've been a nurse and midwife. It's been a very rewarding career, and I was always going to be a nurse. I was a 10-year-old when I decided I was going to nurse. I read a book called White Coolies, or While History Passed. It was about the Australian nurses up in the islands that they were captured by the Japanese. And I said to myself, I'm going to work under that lady one day. And I did. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. In Victoria called Maui, and I went and did my nursing training in Melbourne as a general nurse, and then as a midwife, and then as a baby nurse. So I've had a long career and then I travelled the world as what nurses do. So it's been an eventful career as a nurse, because I've worked overseas, and I have been blessed with these people I have looked after, as they have taught me so much about life. Parents, 3 sisters, we are very close. When you marry one of us, you marry all of us. And so I've had a very lucky childhood like that. So even that said, I really lived in the life of the matrix. I did what people wanted me to do. I saw what people, it was just growing up in the 50s, when they said jump, you said how high. Nursing training in the 60s, when they said jump, you said how high. I did rebel a lot, but every now and again they would pull me back into line. Although my mother said I was a feisty young girl. So that feistiness was always in the background. So I did rebel a lot. And so one of my greatest things is that I was able to communicate with anyone. That's one of my gifts. One of my gifts is to be able to communicate with anybody and have common sense, which is not big in the world. When I was nursing, one of the best compliments I had as an 18-year-old in the ward looking after all these people, all these men actually, and they saw me and they'd say, "Oh, brown eyes, you're on tonight, we can relax." That's a compliment. And so I've been lucky. I have nursed famous people. I have nursed Omar Sharif. I have nursed Alfred Hitchcock. I have nursed Omar Sharif. These were in London when I was there, and I would make sure that all the relatives would leave early, so I had them to myself. But my greatest attribute to nursing, and I've delivered hundreds of babies. I've been an emergency nurse, and so this joy as a nurse has been looking after the dying. It's interesting that I say it's the happiest nursing I've done, and because what these people have done, they really teach you how to live. To be with these people at this most vulnerable time of their lives is lovely. I can't put words to it, but it's a joy. And to get the family and the person dying at the same stage is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I have lots of beautiful memories of these people. And I did nothing special. I just was there, but I had a knack and I loved it. So my journey to self-development is because of a lot of things that have happened in my life, as one does. As you hit my age, you're going to have one or two little boxes there. My main thing was that I was in a volatile first relationship, and I wasn't going to bring up a little girl in that situation. So I had to monkey see, monkey do. So I put my life on hold for 14 years because I didn't want to go, I just wanted to give her be a good role model anyway. But I missed out on a lot for 15 years in my 30s, in my 40s, my peak of my sexuality, my peak of my womanhood. However, that was the choice I made for my beautiful girl. At that time, I was a director of nursing. I was only 30 as a director of nursing, and I knew nothing, absolutely knew nothing. So I've learned the school of hard knocks. One of the biggest knocks I had, which was to start to be a turnaround apart from the relationship issues, was that I was sacked, my first director of nursing job, because my best friend, my deputy, didn't do the right thing for me. Anyway, that being said, was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I really had to stand up and stand out and learn about myself to make a big difference to myself. So really I have to thank her, not go crook about her. And there's been many other experiences like that. But I did throw myself into learning. I went back to university. In that time I looked, I must have spent over from then to now about $200,000 on my development, whether it be clinical, whether it be personal development, and whether it be just my skills. So I'm lucky that I made my own luck actually. Luck didn't fall on me. I deliberately went out to create my own luck. A little bit about me personally. I'm a fun person. I like fun, but my classic is I love classical music, and I thank my daddy for that because he taught me to appreciate. He was a singer. He was a tenor, between baritone and tenor, and so I'm so grateful for him to teach me about people and about music. I thought you were going to say something, Denise, to me. You're going to ask a question?
Yeah.
Because I do rattle on.
Well, one of the things that, as I was listening to you talk about your journey, you mentioned several events in your life that often happen in the lives of other women. You mentioned a violent relationship. You mentioned some difficulties in the workplace because of, fellow employees. And you mentioned raising your daughter on your own or making decisions for her that may have taken you away from decisions about who you were as a person, right? You chose to be the mother and didn't necessarily deal with some of your own needs or some of your own development. So how often have you ran into or dealt with women who have had similar experiences to you?
That's a very good question. The fact that I am president of a women's group here, it's an international group called Seroptimus, which they're everywhere in America as well. we have a seat at the United Nations. So one of our charters is to enable and protect women and girls. So one of our big goals, many women in that situation, and many women have great stories to tell because it's resilience. It's very challenging for these women, and today it's getting worse. One woman a week is killed in Australia regarding violence in a relationship. That's a lot. We're not a big country, but one woman a week is killed. We have in Australia, which I'm terribly sad to say, we have 1 million children in poverty. We only have 23 million people. My biggest, knowing these women and knowing what they have to put up with does help me communicate better to them. Not that I would walk in their shoes, I was able to listen. I was never a very good listener. So I went and became a lifeline counsellor because all they do is on the phone. And because I had to learn to listen to their breathing, I had to learn to listen to the intonation of their voice, I had to learn to listen, but I deliberately did it so I could be there for these women when I was able to. We have a long way to go, but that's Western society, so we won't get on that, but that's one of my topics about I understand what these women do. But if we can build up women to have self-confidence, build up women to know who they are, what they're about, we'll be able to help that one person at a time, one woman at a time, transform one woman. We can transform the world. Years ago, they used to say, the Jesuits used to say, give me the child and I'll give you the boy and I'll give you the man. If you give me the girl, I'll give you the community. It used to be up to age 7. But if we haven't put self-worth, self-development into children by the age of 3, the first 1,000 days of their life, it's going to be hard to do it any other time. We're not parenting. We have to teach women how to parent on their own. Boys need role models. It doesn't have to be a father. It needs a role model. So they're the sort of things I have been exposed to. And I did grief. I could handle my grief and handle others' grief as well. And again, it's just to be there for them. Cry when they cry. Laugh when they laugh. Not hand out bouts of wisdom, because I don't have wisdom in that sense. I would never even give a glass of water to a patient without them wanting it, not assuming that I'll give you this glass of water. Because even if they couldn't reach it themselves, I wouldn't say, here, have this. I'd say, would you like me to give you that glass? Keep their dignity and respect. And so over the years, I have learned to put that in place. Whether I'm walking down the street, I never assume anything. I ask permission. People often say, treat people how you want to be treated. I spin that a little bit differently. I treat people as they want to be treated. So the key there is to know them. No good treating them how I want to be treated. They wouldn't like it at all, perhaps.
And I think that's a very good message, is treat others as they would like to be treated.
That's right.
And do that as your example is we ask them, not assume what they might want or need, but we ask them so that they can share what they want or need with us.
Exactly. I've had to learn that the hard way because I'm a rescuer. I'm the eldest of my family, of a girl, or sisters. So when they rang up, if something was going on, I'd say, do this, rather than say, what are you going to do about it? Have you thought of this? So it took me a while to stop being the big sister and the boss and become their spokesperson or their learner. It's about teaching people to think for themselves. And that was a challenge, a learning I had to learn. just not go in there and rescue everybody, because I was rescuing people so I didn't have to look at myself. That's a good learning I had. So then I had to start looking at myself, and that was just recently, a couple of years ago, when I finished. Yes, I didn't register again as a nurse and midwife, and I thought, oh, it's not going to be hard. I'm just going to register, but I had sleepless nights over that. In the fact that, who am I now? No, I've given a lot, but that's not enough. I've got to give more. It's this drive I have in me. Can't explain it, but it's always been there. As a young girl, I said to my mother, I'm 5. I am here for something special, Mummy. And she laughed and she said, that's good, darling, go for it. But as the years went by, she kept saying to me, darling, is there something special here yet? When I was going through trials and tribulations, I said, no, not yet, Mummy. So it's now, Mummy. My darling mum's been dead for 23 years, but I can say to her, it's now, darling, I'm going to teach women to be become women of significance. So create that legacy. And when you get to my age, I've only got 15 years left of my life, I hope. But I haven't got 25. I haven't got 30. I've only got 15 to 20 max. I need to make a difference in this world. I haven't got time to be hesitant anymore. And there's a lot of people out there for me, like me rather. And I need to tap into those people so that we can share our wisdom, so we can create that. If they don't want to, that's fine. I'm just after the women that want to leave that legacy and make a difference to themselves first, to their families, and then to the wider community. One of my passions is loneliness. It's a bigger killer than obesity and smoking. We all experience loneliness, whether we're in a family or what have you, but there's a lot of loneliness. Now, 10% they chose to be lonely. They've alienated themselves. But there's a lot of other reasons, and we know, Denise, that it's an inside job. When I was on my own, yes, I was lonely, but that was my choice. What did I do to overcome that? And that's when I started learning that the secret is to do things for other people. I know that sounds very, very, new agey or anything, but if you're focusing on someone else, you can't be focusing on yourself, because you can only focus on one thing at a time. And I get joy out of seeing people smile. I get joy. And I do a random act of kindness every day. Now, I don't share that, because if I share it, I've already got my reward. But one of the things I do is, in Melbourne, there's called Flinders Street Station, which is a meeting point or whatever. A lot of people, everyone goes to this, not everybody, but those people get trained from Flinders Street Station, and there's a horde of people coming up, and there's a flower store there. So I go and buy all these flowers, and when I catch someone's eye coming up the steps, I just talk to them and say, hi, how's your day been? If they say it's been great, I said, this hopefully will make it a bit better. Or if I've had a terrible day, well, I hope this, and I just give it to them, and they smile and what have you, and walk away. I don't want to be thanked, because that is my thanks, to see them. But I often see them look back and think, strange, nothing. Still, I don't mind being strange. But to be about getting back to loneliness, and I do flitter a lot, is as I said, one of my passions. And how can we do that? In today's society, the biggest demographic here where I live is women over 55 homeless. That is the biggest demographic around the world, and there's many reasons for that. But we haven't had enough super, we haven't had enough money to rely on. We do get a little bit of pension in Australia, but that's not much. You can manage, but there's nowhere to live. You can't afford rent. So other people are looking at different ways. I know in the States and places like that, they have these little mini houses they're doing now, so that, to be able to house people like that. And the homeless, they don't need to be homeless either. But the loneliness thing is creating something in themselves, I believe. And with that something in themselves, they can then share that with others. Does that make sense to me?
So one of the things that you said earlier that resonated with me is talking about building women's self-esteem, their self-worth, because that's how we create our communities. That's how we create healthy families. And that's how we create healthy men. When we as women can raise boys to be positive men, when we can see how to be in a positive relationship with a man in a marriage, or we need to leave those negative relationships. There is so much that women actually create in every community, in every country, that if we would concentrate more on women, we would have healthier people overall.
Exactly. There was a bumper sticker I saw once, and it said, "Mothers are bad for mental health." And it struck me for a minute. I said, yes, it's possibly right, because it's up to mothers. They're the first educators. It's up to mothers to love their sons. It's up to mothers. And it's interesting, you see that mothers act differently to their boys as they do to their girls. And it's a good wake-up. I only had one little girl, so I can't claim, but I can watch other families do more things for their boys as they do than their girls. But it's up to mothers to make that difference. It's up to mothers to show how a woman should be treated. It's up to mothers to educate the girls. But dads are there as well. To have a good father is such a blessing. I had a magnificent father. He taught me a lot, but he was a funny man. I remember as a young girl, after I finished nursing and all that, I lost my way. I was only 22 and I lost my way. So I wandered around being a chef. I went up to cook, cut every finger in my hand, and came back after 12 months with a book of poetry. And my father managed big clubs. He got them out of trouble. And I walked into the club. He did not know I was turning up. And he saw me across the room, and he walked across the floor, tears streaming down his face, his arms stretched out, and gave me the biggest love. And that's how I've been brought up. So people not everybody has had the love as a child as I had. So I like to share that. When I used to talk about my family as a young girl at nursing, no one believed me. It was just a little bit different. Oh yes, we've had our issues, as 4 girls living together do. However, if you only have one woman in the house, I'm sorry. But I've been lucky, and I had a mother who, Dad did punch above his weight. My mother wasn't really a woman before her time, but in the 50s or even the early 40s when she got married, she couldn't go to work, and we were poor as church mouse. But Dad, she did all voluntary. She was a teacher. She did all this voluntary work at school and what have you. We could have got paid for that and had a bit more money, but no, woman doesn't work, doesn't do that. So in many ways, we look back in the 50s and think that was idyllic. It wasn't. We knew where we were, but we were constrained. I only had 5 choices when I left school: nursing, teaching, in the bank, secretary, or a shop assistant. That's it. Amen. When I look at what the young girls can do today, it's amazing. However, the competition is much harder. I could always get work. There's competition for these young girls. So we, as an older group, need to empower these young women. They have to learn their own mistakes, but we can help them through that much better. So I'm aiming to create a world of 1 million women of significance. That's my aim. So that these women who want to live each day with joy, have integrity, honesty, and generosity, that want to share their stories, share their wisdom, so that we can educate the next generation of young women. That is my biggest aim, to have a global vision of women. And it could spread. 1 million. You've got to think big in times like this. My aim just this year is to make sure I've got 10,000 women. I have just, when I've walked away from them, I enlightened their life a little. And as you know, everybody can everybody lights up the room, you know, some when they come in and some when they go out, you know, so I want to be that woman that lights them. When I've walked out, they think, oh, I feel better. Simple. And just to be known as a generous person. I am a generous person. Generous in time, love and money. It doesn't have to be just money, but it's generous in your time. And everybody needs time. So if we can leave this world as significant, why I call it significant is that my catch cry is it's not just your success that matters in this world, it's but your significance. And significance is more than success. Significance means different things to different people, but significance will last. Success is only fleeting, but significance is forever. You know, and so we're only going to be remembered for so long anyway. How many generations will you be remembered unless you, you know, have been a world beater? However, I just want to be able to see my grandchildren to say, my grandma did that. That was my grandma. And I know it's selfish. Who doesn't like to be remembered, but it's so that they learn. It's so if my grandma can do that, I can do that. So the next generation can do it. So that's my basically aim. So when I will be hopefully learning women on my journey and my stories to become that woman of significance. I used to manage a hospice service, which, you know, we went to the homes of the dying. And it was a little Buddhist organisation. And in '07, Dalai Lama came to visit us. And he has that charisma that makes everybody feel his presence. I was just sitting in a room with him with about 5 or 6 of us, and I felt he was talking straight to me when he said to me, I want you to have no regrets. I want you to put meaning in what you do, and I want you to have a peaceful mind. So that's the mantra too for myself. I do every day. At night I think, now the peaceful mind wasn't always there. Put meaning in what you do is to be present, teach everybody. So I did learn a lot from being in that organisation. We learned to be here and now. And I'm the type of person that likes to run 9 miles an hour. However, I've learnt in and out. So when you said those things, we have no regrets. That was a big thing because we all have a little bit of regrets. But that's in the past. Don't let that carry through. I mean, I would have loved to be a test pilot. That's a regret. However, it's not a regret really, but I would love it. I just love flying planes, and I used to in the past, but not jets, and do aerobatics. It was exciting. However, I want to be able to teach women that, especially the young women, they want it, they can get it. It's all to do with how they think. It's all to do with what they say to themselves and what they think to themselves. Because when I say to people, if I spoke to you like you speak to yourself or think to yourself, you would never speak to me again. So why are you saying these things to yourself? But it's a minute by minute checkup. That, what am I saying to myself? You know, you drop something and you say, you silly devil, you clumsy devil. You've got to pick yourself up.
Right.
So I'm learning every day, Denise. I've still got a long, long way to go.
Well, and I think that's another key message that you're sharing today is what are we creating in our mind that is telling us ourselves that we can't do something, that we can't achieve, that we can't succeed. And as you said, it's far worse what is in the mind of an individual about themselves than what anybody else is saying. What I would like to mention now is, because you mentioned the concept of women of significance, and that you want to have 1 million women that learn the keys to be significant and to themselves first, so they then can have significance in their family, the community, and their world. And so the show that you are going to be hosting on Global Voice Radio is titled Creating a World of Women of Significance. So,
like that, yeah, yeah.
So talk a little bit about, on your show, what are some of the topics that you're going to be discussing?
Well, to start off with, to be able to, a little bit about my journey, and create the learnings that have happened and how it relates to them as they go along. Let's look at a topic about thinking, changing your thinking. And it's not an easy thing to change your thinking because you're not aware of what you're doing. And the brain is a marvelous thing, but it can only focus on one thing at a time. We might think we can focus on 2 or 3 things at a time. No, we can just jump from one to another very quickly. And I love the neurosciences. I love to know what's going on up here. It's changing every day, it's learning every day. So I'd be talking about changing your thinking in order to change you. People are, depending on people's level of awareness, what understanding. So I'll start off from scratch a little bit to build up over to have the study, some of the neuroscience studies. And it's not hocus pocus anymore. There's actually the MRI studies of brain synapse changing in your brain when you change your thinking.
Yes. And
to build up those new neuro pathways to have, so it's automatic. Brain, so, but you need to focus on yourself every day. That's the other big lesson I'll be talking about. If I'm talking to women of a certain age, we didn't know what it was like to have self-worth. It was taken from us. We allowed it to take from us from an early age. But we weren't aware when I was a young nurse, we had to stand back for everybody that was one day ahead of us, including the hospital cat if it's been there longer. And they did treat you very harshly, especially in the 60s. You could never get away with it these days. But I'll never forget this wonderful woman. I put that in brackets. Her name was Miss Matthews, permanent spinster. And she frightened the living hell out of everybody, and she didn't like Nurse Thompson very much either. And she used to come on, this was night time, come on, do this round, and we had to know everything about that patient. We'd only been on for half an hour. We had 20 or 30 in the ward, and you had to know everything about them. And if you slipped up one, she'd make you study it for the next day. But I welcomed someone like that. I didn't. She respected me in the end because I was a bit cheeky to her. I didn't tolerate that. And I remember one girl was very sick on night duty, and she said to me, I can't go to work, I'm really sick. And she said, can you go and tell Miss Matthews I'm not going? I said, okay. So I went to see her in her office. She made me stand outside the door for 2 hours until she was ready to see me. And she came in, yes, Miss Thompson, she said. I said, oh, Miss Matthews, I said, Maureen Costello is very sick and she can't make night duty. Well, this lady put a face to my face and she said, she just wants to get out of work. I'll get her up. So she went over to the nurse's home, got her up, right? And poor old Maureen was sick as a dog anyway. She was working with me that night, so I did most of the work while Maureen. Anyhow, she collapsed on me at 3 o'clock. I picked up the phone and I said, Nellie, get yourself up here. Maureen's collapsed. And of course, they came up and she had a ruptured appendix, poor darling. However, when I did that to Miss Matthews, everybody couldn't believe it. I had the nerve to say, Nellie, get yourself up here. But you have to have that spunk in life. You need to have that courage. And I do love what Helen Mirren said. What would I tell my younger self more? And I won't use the word, but she just said, I would tell more people to sod off. And we could have. There's many people to tell, sod off. You worked in places you didn't want to work in because you needed them as a referee. And you put up with things. So anyway, getting back to my topic, it's about sharing the stories and how to think about it, and the evidence around that. So it's just not talk, and practice it. On another podcast, I would ask people how they were going with it. Does it make any difference to them? Not because it's a podcast, not seeing people. To me, it's going to be interesting because I do workshops and you've got immediate feedback.
Right.
On Zoom, you've got immediate feedback. So you can adjust what you're saying and what you're doing. However, what I'm doing is an introduction to yourself. If people want more information, more things, there's ways around we could do that. Like you say, Zoom and things like that. So to reach 1 million people, at least in the next couple of years, I am stretching myself, but hey, the podcast will be magnificent. And when I found out about it, I was delighted. Not that I can talk, but not really in some sense. I waffle a little bit, so I really have to learn to pull myself back and stay on topic. But being a podcast, I would have some things in front of me to keep me on track. It's a bit hard when you're on video.
So talk a little bit about, where do you live now? I know you're in Australia, but talk about where you
living now. I've just moved back to Victoria, Melbourne, Victoria, a little suburb called Point Cook. It's been 50 years since I've come back to Victoria. 25 years I was overseas and in New South Wales. And the last 25 years of my life, I've been in Queensland. And it's lovely up in Queensland. That's where I met my now current husband. We've been married 28 years. I was 48 when I met him, so there's hope. He's nature's gentleman. He couldn't get a better man. His only purpose in life is to spoil me. Tick. It's wonderful. I do nothing in the house. I do nothing in food. I do nothing except put the washing in the washing machine. So I digress. What was I saying? So a little bit about myself. So I'm back in Victoria because in Queensland you drown in your own sweat. I'm a sweater. If I head sweat, I don't perspire, I sweat. And of course the summers are horrific. Your average 38. It's humidity, 100% humidity all the time. You just drench. You live in shopping centres when I first went up there. So you put you in the car and put the air conditioner on and go to work. And that wasn't the only reason I came down here. I have a daughter who's down here who's given me those 2 grandbabies, which are my joy. And so I'm here in this Victoria. I don't know a lot of people. I've got some rallies down here, but up in Queensland I'm quite known because I was a director of nursing up there for many years. So I still got friends up there. Last weekend and the weekend before we had 40 degrees Celsius here, which is over 100 Fahrenheit. And it does happen in Victoria in January. But normally in Melbourne, the weather is 4 seasons in one day. It can start off, like yesterday, it was 40 degrees. It dropped to 20 degrees in 10 minutes. With my jacket. It's an amazing place. Australia's an amazing place. I've travelled all around Australia. I used to be an auditor in another life. I did some quality. So I go and do audits. If you ever get money from the government, you have to have certain standards in place. So I go and use a place called Wiluna, which is the middle of the Simpson Desert, and there's only about 500 people there. And they haven't, you have to wait 3 days for a plane to come back to pick you up. But because I go and I'm auditing people, they don't want you there. That's all. Don't want you there. They made me wait 3 days till they're ready to see you. You just go with the flow sort of thing. So I have some interesting places around Australia. I've met some wonderful Indigenous people. Absolutely. They're just amazing. We've got, know their history too well, so there's a lot of misunderstanding in Australia, like you find everywhere. So that's where I am at the moment. I want to travel more. And I think doing what I'm doing, I'll be able to travel more. Now I'm knowing more. I know people in San Antonio, so hello, this is going to be great.
Yes.
So that's where I am.
Well, great. And we look forward to you visiting, San Antonio and other cities where Global Voice Radio hosts are located. And hopefully in the next year or two, we come down to Australia to visit you. So I want to remind our listeners to join you, and your show will be on Wednesday evenings in the United States, Thursday morning in Australia. And the name of your show is Creating a World of Women of Significance. And like I said, I greatly appreciate you joining Global Voice Radio so that we can help you share your message, and we can help you to reach those 1 million women who you want to share, support, and help change their lives, which then will change the lives of many and make changes around the world.
I am so excited, Denise, and thank you for the offer. I wouldn't have known about you. I'm so happy to find you and your team. It's going to be exciting.
So thank you very much.
Really exciting.
And
my pleasure.
And we'll see you in person soon. We don't know when, but we will. And we'll hear your voice and your message every Wednesday evening in the U.S. and it'll be Thursday mornings in Australia. And we'll be posting the exact time due to the time changes, right? The daylight savings time in both countries. So, but I look forward to hearing more from you, and I know our listeners will be excited to hear your message also.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Join Margie O'Kane, host of Creating a World of Women of Significance, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on Global Voice Radio, where your voice is heard.